This is the Mokwheel Slate. It's the latest and only folding bike from Mokwheel. Now, it looks great and has some cool new features, but how does it perform in our testing? Well, stick around, let's hit the road with the Mokwheel Slate. Hey friends, I'm Mike and welcome back to Electric Bike Report. Before we jump into the Mokwheel Slate, do us a favor, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so we can keep these reviews coming. Alright, now let's get into the three biggest standout features of the Mokwheel Slate, and then we'll run down the rest of the specs before jumping into all of our testing data. Now, if you want a folder with some serious range, the Slate might be the one for you. We've tested a lot of e-bikes, and this little folder here placed 11th in the range test out of all the e-bikes we've tested across all classes of e-bikes, and it's just a really impressive result. Its torque sensor and 720 watt-hour battery teamed up to make for some big numbers. So stay tuned for the range test in just a few minutes where we'll go over those results. Another standout was the bike's new display. It's a full color display, and on top of that, it can be easily removed and taken with you away from your bike, effectively disabling the bike's power. Little features like that showcase some creativity and outside of the box thinking. It's the type of thing we hope to see, as it usually means the rest of the bike was well thought through too, instead of merely copying what the rest of the stuff on the market's doing. Continuing that trend is a frame integrated taillight. Not only does it look sleek, but it also serves as the brake light and turn signals, and we're always pumped to see turn signals discreetly added to a bike, and this is a rare thing on folders. Okay, those were the standouts to us. Now let's do a quick run through of the Slate's remaining specs. Starting down at the tires, they are Chaoyang tires, sized at 20 inches by 3 inches, and have a nice looking tan sidewall and a city commuter tread pattern. The stopping power for those tires is the Logan E500 hydraulic disc brakes paired to 180mm rotors and a 2-piston caliper. The drivetrain on the Slate is a 7-speed Shimano tourney with a 52-tooth chainring and a 14 to 28-tooth cog in the rear. The bike comes in 3 color options. Here we have the denim blue, but there's also a platinum silver option and a jungle camo 1-2. On that note, we have a one-size-fits-most frame, which, as you can guess, is a folding frame made of 6061 aluminum alloy with a step-through height of just 15 inches that Mokwheel says will fit riders between 5 foot and 6 foot 2. That internal battery is a 48-volt 15-amp-hour battery that has 720 watt-hours of juice. That pairs with the Slate's 500-watt hub motor, which runs off a torque sensor. There's an unbranded coil fork up front that has adjustable travel ranging from 90 to 110 millimeters, and there are metal fenders over both the front and rear tires. The seat is a simple leather seat with about 7 inches of adjustability in the seat post. The handlebar design is a flat bar that helps in keeping the profile small when the bike is all folded up. And this handlebar has a few inches of telescoping adjustability as well to help you dial in a fit that works best for you. On that handlebar, you have black ergonomic grips, and on the right side, you have a bell and your Shimano index shifter. In the center, you have a color LCD display that, as mentioned earlier, is also detachable for security. Over on the left, you have the pedal assist and menu controls, as well as the bike's push throttle. Okay, those specs out of the way, let's see how it folds before jumping into our testing data. All right, let's do a quick fold up of the bike. All right, to ensure accurate brake data in our reviews, we use a consistent test for every bike. Our rider accelerates to 20 miles an hour, applies the brakes at a set line, and then we measure the stopping distance. Now we repeat this 3 times and average the results for the final stopping distance. Heading into this test, the Mokwheel ships with Logan E500 hydraulic disc brakes paired to 180mm rotors and a 2-piston caliper. From what we've seen in the past, this combo usually performs pretty well. So with the Mokwheel Slate here, we got a score of 19 feet 2 inches, and that's a very solid score for any e-bike, and well under our 25-foot threshold. To put that in perspective, that places the braking score in the top 20% of all e-bikes we've tested across all classes. And with that, I personally put a lot of miles on the bike this week in real world conditions where I had a couple short stops and the Logan brakes here stopped safely every time I asked them to. And I never had any concerns when braking. So all in all, really good job in the braking department. All right, so when it comes to speed, I tested each of the Slate's 5 pedal assist levels here on our local multi-use paths. As it ships, the bike has a Class 2 speed limit of 20 miles an hour. The bike's menu also allows riders to increase the max speed to 25 miles an hour, so we conducted 2 runs for this test, and let's head outside and see how it did. All right, we're out here on the Mokwheel Slate, and we're gonna go through all 5 levels of pedal assist to see what kind of speeds we get at each level. Now, I'm currently in the highest gear, 7th gear, and I'm doing a pretty casual pace, about 11.2, 11.3. It does say 12 on the bike's display, but because of the polarized lens on my glasses, you guys can't see that. So we'll use the bike's mounted one, or excuse me, my phone's app. But about 11.4 with no pedal assist. Let's go to level 1. And that's gonna bump us up just a bit. Now, I don't know if you can hear it on camera, but the motor's actually very quiet on this. 13.5 it looks like for pedal assist 1. So let's go to level 2. And being a torque sensor, I'm trying to keep the same level of effort on the pedals to try to keep consistency, but just keep in mind your results may vary depending on how you pedal. But at pedal assist 2, looks like I saw it top out at 14.2. Let's go to level 3. And now we're up over 15 miles an hour. In level 3, 15.3 I saw that peak at. So it's level 4. And that one I could definitely feel. It's got us up to about 16.8 I saw. 17, 17.3. All right, so let's go to level 5. The final level, and I think we're gonna have no trouble getting up over 20. Yep. 21.6 I saw that peak at. Now I'm sure if I really got in these pedals, yeah, if you really get in those pedals, you can get up to a 28, I'm sure. But that was a pretty smooth and pretty solid speed test for the Mokwheel Slate. All right, we're out here on the Mokwheel Slate, and let's do our Class 3 speed test. So I'm using no motor assistance right now, go through all 5 levels and see what kind of speeds we get along the way. So, level 1. I feel just a hair there. That's got us to, looks like 13.1. Let's go to level 2. And now we're up over 15. 16.1, 16.2. All right, let's go to level 3. Uh, 18.5. All right, level 4. Now I am doing a lot of pedaling, but this has got us to 22.5, 23.6. And then let's go to level 5. I am pedaling fast, like abnormally fast. And I saw the peaks. Ooh, got some wind. Anyway, I was pedaling really fast and I never saw it go over about 24.9. Maybe it peaked at 25 and I missed it. But anyway, there you go. Max speed we got out of this is about 25 miles an hour with pedal assist, and you can also adjust the throttle to go up to about 25 as well. All right, out here on the Mokwheel Slate, and let's do a throttle test. So from 0 to 20 miles an hour, and you probably can't see the display. I can't even through my polarized glasses, so you definitely can on the app here, and we'll see how long it takes to get to 20 miles an hour using throttle only. So on your mark, get set, go. Woo, that had some torque off the jump. Almost gave me a little wheelie. Already 14, 15, 16, 18, and it kicked off. So it said 19.5 on my speedometer, but the bike's display was already at 20, and it kicked off.
So pretty quick and felt pretty torquey.
All right, beginning with the PAS deactivated, I pedaled the bike by leg power alone and tried to keep a relaxed pace. My average speed to start on leg power was about 11 miles an hour. So kicking things off, I activated PAS1 and I felt a subtle bump in assistance that brought my speed up to 13.5. As I climbed through each level of assistance, my speed increased at a pretty even pace to 14.2 in PAS2, 15.5 in PAS3, 17.3 in PAS4, and finally 21.6 miles an hour in PAS5. Next up, with the bike settings updated for 25 miles an hour, I again started with no motor and maintained about 10.2 miles an hour. Once I hit PAS1, the bike bumped up speed to 13.1. In PAS2, we reached 16.2. Then in PAS3, the bike hit 18.5. In PAS4, we hit 23.6. And finally, in PAS5, we hit 24.9 miles an hour. So all in all, the bike had no trouble hitting its predetermined speed limits of 20 and 25 miles an hour. And it's worth noting that users can also adjust the speed limit for each pedal assist setting, so you can actually tailor the speeds to suit your preferred riding style. The 500 watt motor felt good from point to point, and the early PAS levels like 1 and 2 felt very natural with the torque sensor. However, once you get up to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th levels, the power seemed to feel more aggressive and not as natural. It might just be how it's programmed, but we'd like to see all 5 levels of pedal assist feel equally natural. It's also worth mentioning here, being that the bike has a torque sensor, in theory, your results may vary. A torque sensor measures the amount of force I'm applying to the pedals. If I pedal harder, it delivers more assistance. And on the flip side, if I give less leg power, it backs off and gives less pedal assistance. The drivetrain on the Slate is a 7-speed Shimano tourney with a 52-tooth chainring and a 14 to 28-tooth cog in the rear. This combination felt really good across all 5 levels, and I was even able to pedal beyond 20 miles an hour with a little more aggressive pedaling. But overall, these results were really solid. The Mokwheel Slate lives up to its Class 2 speeds with smooth and even power throughout all 5 levels. All right, everybody wants to know how far the e-bike goes, and we get it. Range anxiety is a real thing. So, how far will the Slate go on a single charge? Well, we have some results that were pretty surprising. For the range test, we run it in 2 sections. First, we charge up the Mokwheel Slate here to 100%, and we hit the road in the lowest PAS setting at level 1, and we see how far it'll go until the battery runs dry. Then we charge it back up to 100% and hit the road again, only this time on the highest setting, PAS5, and we ride it again until it runs dry. For context, the folks over at Mokwheel say this bike has a range of roughly 50 to 60 miles. So on the first run in PAS1, we managed to ride the bike for a whopping 89 miles. To help put that into perspective, that took us an exhausting 8 hours and 20 minutes, averaging 10.7 miles an hour and climbing a total elevation of 1,765 feet. So as you can guess, we were really surprised. That's a lot more than we typically see, and in fact, that places the Mokwheel Slate in 3rd place against any 720 watt motor we've ever tested across all classes. On the second run, with a freshly charged battery, we covered 35.16 miles over the course of 2 hours and 3 minutes, averaging 16.7 miles an hour and gaining 655 feet in elevation. Again, really solid results. We've had a handful of range tests with impressive miles where the bike didn't do a lot and the rider had to do the most. But PAS1 has noticeable motor power that contributes to the bike's movement, so it made the result feel even more impressive. Overall, the Slate's 720 watt-hour battery, paired to its 500 watt torque sensing motor, proved to be a great match, balancing some huge range numbers with solid battery efficiency. All right, let's head outside once again and see how the Mokwheel Slate did in our hill test at our local Hellhole Hill.
Okay, here we are on the Mokwheel Folding, doing the throttle test up Hellhole. Right out of the gate, I will say it felt peppy, kind of hitting the hill. We'll see how it does. We're at 13 right now through this first steep section, down to 12, 11, and just under 11. We're about 10.6, 10.8, holding pretty strong. Down to 10, just hit the high 9s. Maybe 9.5, 9.6 was the lowest. So it felt pretty good through that hill. You can hear the motor. Has a little bit of a whine to it. I'll let you listen to it through this next section as we pass Mike there. Yeah, so it's a little windier here, but let's see if you can hear what I'm hearing. Okay, so a little tough to hear in the wind. As soon as that wind picked up, it was hard for me to hear much of the motor, which I think actually gives, I mean, just says like it does get kind of lost in the background. Through that last steep section, slowed down to about 8 miles per hour, but overall doing pretty good. It's not gonna have any hard time climbing up here. See if, and we'll go to the tape and just kind of see how this does compared to some of the other folding bikes that we've tested. All right, back on the Mokwheel Slate, going up with the pedal test now, starting in gear 7. Just gonna kind of keep it nice and easy to see what it'd be like, you know, again, if you're not trying to put a ton of watts down on the pedals. So far, shifted down to 6th gear, at about 10.9 miles per hour, 10.4, 9.5, shift one more time. It's down to 4th gear now. Probably right about 9.5, 9.3, 9 through that section. Let's listen to the motor here before it gets too windy. Maybe. Yeah, so the motor, again, right about average, maybe a little quieter than average while pedaling. We'll see how it does on this last steep section. I'm gonna keep it in 4th and maybe drop down to 3rd. Yeah, so go down just about 8.5-ish, and shifting back up to 4th to 5th, hitting a little bit of wind. You know, might add a second or two to this. We're not doing official time trials or anything for the Olympics, so I think it's fine. But in general, it feels powerful. We'll see how it compares to other folding bikes. But you'll definitely be able to get up something like Hellhole without having to push very hard on your own on the pedals. So it feels nice and solid.
All right, when it comes to the Mokwheel Slate, there is a 500 watt rear hub motor with a torque sensor and 65 newton meters of torque. Typically, the higher the torque number, the better the hill climbing ability. So at 65 newton meters, it's not on the low side per se, but it also isn't pushing the upper limits either. It's kind of a middle of the road torque rating, so as you can guess, I was eager to see how the Mokwheel Slate performed in our notorious Hellhole hill test here in southern Utah. On the first run in throttle only, the Slate made it up Hellhole in just 1 minute 29 seconds with an average speed of 12.2 miles an hour. To put that score into perspective, this result, when compared to other folding e-bikes, placed near the top of the pack in 5th place for throttle only run. A very solid performance. On the second run, when putting some leg muscle into the mix along with PAS5, the Mokwheel Slate made it up Hellhole again, this time in 1 minute 40 seconds with an average speed of 10.8 miles an hour. Now this was slower than expected, but with the smaller 500 watt motor and a torque sensor, the way the bike is pedaled has a huge role in impacting the result. All in all, the bike performed well on the hill test. Now, if you live in an area with tons of hills along your route, you may want to look for something with a little bit more hill climbing power, but for the majority of people with the usual rolling elevation and light hills, the Mokwheel Slate should be a solid choice. All right, our last ride outside. And this is where we focus on how the bike rides and feels, then we jump back in here and we'll wrap it up. All right, we're out here on the Mokwheel Slate, and this is the newest folding e-bike from Mokwheel. Right off the bat, I gotta say, this thing feels really smooth. It might be these tires down below, might just be the overall design, but it was kind of my gut, like, whoa, as soon as I got on it, it's just a very smooth ride. But let's jump into ride quality here. So as far as riding position goes, it's an upright riding position, but not so much that it's like a commuter or a cruiser. Generally, those will have a swept back handlebar, so it brings your body position up because your hands are back here. But in this case, because you have a flat bar due to the folding aspect, you kind of have to lean forward a bit, and that's where these nice ergonomic grips come in and actually really help. So you can't adjust the stem of this handlebar. You can a little bit height-wise, but you can't adjust its tilt or angle at all. And you can also adjust the seat post height about 7 inches. And the folks at Mokwheel say this will fit riders between 5 foot and 6'2", and I am 5'11", and I can see that that's probably a pretty accurate range. I have room to go either direction. There is suspension on this bike, and it has a coil fork up front that has some compression dials on it. And I actually adjusted the O-ring on it down to the bottom of the stanchion just to see how much travel I was getting on daily rides. And I can see by looking, you might not be able to see it, but I'd say that O-ring has moved up about an inch. So just day-to-day riding, little imperfections on the road, nothing even off-road, and the shock has done a good job for me. These tires down below are size 20 inches in diameter by 3 inches wide, and they are Chaoyang tires with a skin side or a tan sidewall, and they feel really nice. Kind of goes back to what I said earlier. It's just a smooth, quiet ride. And speaking of quiet, the motor on this is actually only 500 watts, but don't let that fool you. It actually feels really good. It performed great in our hill test and our speed test. So 500 watts with this torque sensor they've got feels really natural. And I don't like to just throw that word natural like a really high-end bike, because it's not like that. But it's much better than a cadence sensor, and even some of the torque sensors we've tested before. It just feels good. When I apply more pressure, I get more feedback from the motor, and when I reduce my pedaling stroke, it backs off a little bit. It really does try to match what I'm doing. So all in all, feels good, rides good, and I've enjoyed my time. So let's head back in and wrap this up. All right, so some areas I didn't discuss in the video. The front fork does have travel, and that ranges between 90 and 110 millimeters. And that display we mentioned coming off for added security, I'm gonna show you real quick just how that works. There's a quick clip at the bottom side. You just pinch it in and you're able to remove it in less than a second, 2 seconds. And to put it back on, you just simply put the top hook in and it clips right back on. You can see it's really small and have it off in just a second or two. Now, I did speak with Mokwheel and they told me the display is IPX6 water resistant, which means it can be submerged in water and it's fine. So rain is gonna be no big deal. And when it comes to the exposed pins for the display when it's removed, if they get wet, they said just dry off the pins before reconnecting the display and you should be all good. And on that note, they also let me know that they have completed the testing for UL 2849 certification, and they are waiting on the approval, so that should be on the way soon, which is always a good step. So kudos to Mokwheel. Also, the display looks really nice. It's using a well-contrasting colors that made the info on the screen pop. The info you can track on this new display is pretty typical, things like speed, PAS settings, time of ride, and a trip meter. Also, the folding of the bike is pretty straightforward with only a few levers and parts to move, and the bike folds up pretty quickly. Now, you'll want to consider a bungee or a strap to keep it closed, because once you and a buddy lift it, it may want to swing back open if you're not holding it a certain way. All in all, the bike feels really good on the road and smoother than I was expecting, so kudos to Mokwheel. All right, so once again, we covered a lot in this review. We've taken a look at how the Mokwheel Slate performs in real world conditions, and as you can see, it pretty much delivers what we expected, and in some cases, like range and braking, it completely outperformed many of its peers. With a range of nearly 90 miles on a single charge, 20 mile/hour braking in under 20 feet, and a solid performance in the hill test, the Mokwheel Slate is genuinely a contender to consider if you're in the market for a folding e-bike around the $1,500 mark. As always, there are areas to improve. We'd love to see Mokwheel give the Slate a retune of the torque sensing power, where it felt really good and natural in PAS1 and 2, but more punchy and unnatural in the higher PAS levels like 3, 4, and 5. Even having a dedicated lever or strap to secure the bike in its folded position and preventing it from opening in travels or when you're moving it around would be a nice low-cost option to add on. But when it's all said and done, with this bike in its current configuration, it's a really nice entry by Mokwheel into the folding e-bike market, and we think this is a solid option to consider if you're shopping for a folding e-bike. All right, friends, that's another one in the books for us here at Electric Bike Report. Thanks for stopping by. Don't be a stranger, subscribe to the channel and like this video. And until then, we'll see you out on the trail.